Hello there, and welcome back to another hQuestBuilder tutorial video. I try to make these videos periodically because there's always quite a lot of little features I'm adding onto hQuestBuilder, and I want to make sure that you're aware of them, and that also people who are new to hQuestBuilder can hopefully watch this as a one-stop shop to kind of learn all the different features for what the builder has to offer. I will try and keep it as brief as possible. There's quite a lot of stuff to go through, but please do stick with me because there's all kinds of features which I get asked about fairly regularly, which are actually already in the builder. So it's good to try and hopefully highlight some of those things and make it so hopefully you can find all the little features which you might not be so aware of. When you first come to the builder, if you haven't kind of built any quests before, the first thing you'll see is this help and info panel. This will give you a link to this video guide that we're literally on at the moment. It'll also have a link to support hQuestBuilder if you so wish. There's also a whole list of basically recent updates that have happened. Now you will periodically see this thing reappear. I'm not trying to annoy you with it. What I'm trying to show you is that there's probably an update that you might want to read about that's been added to the builder. I do technical updates in the background, and I probably won't force that if that's the case. But if there's something new, I like to try and make it so you know that something's been added rather than not being aware, basically. So if it does appear, that's the reason. Excuse me. There's also on here, please do check, there's a kind of list of to-do items that are on my radar to do. So if you've got an idea, do check that first, please, because I do make sure that I try and keep that up to date, and it's my little list of stuff that I'm going to go to should I want to kind of add additional bits and pieces to the builder. And that's all based on customer feedback. Customer feedback? User feedback. And also my own little kind of niggles I want to try and address within the builder as well. There's also a whole load of thanks. The hQuestBuilder is available in 5 languages now, I think. So yeah, if you see a language isn't represented here and you'd like to translate some of the UI, do let me know, and I'll do my best to try and add that into the builder as well. There's also a load of terms and conditions in there. I spent far too long, as always, on the help and info panel, but it is actually a really important part of the builder because it's kind of where I try and pull out all the information about what's kind of going on, what's coming up. And also it's important to kind of give credit where credit's due to the people that have been so helpful and generous in helping me with this. If you look in the lower right, there is actually a feedback little widget. There's also within the help and info, I should have mentioned, a way of getting in touch with me if you wish to, if there's any feedback or you're having problems. I do try and respond to as many emails as I can, so do please get in touch. But if you just want to give me a little quick bit of feedback, you can click this little fella down here, and then you can click these little faces to rate what you think. Hopefully it will be this side rather than this side. And tell me a little bit about your experience. If it's something that you would like to hear back from me about, please do put your email address, and then I can hopefully respond to your query and help you out, which is the main thing. But anyway, let's move on to hopefully far more exciting things. This is the initial map view. Like I say, if you've not built anything on the builder before, this is all that you will see when you come in. If you click on one of the panels, then you will get the left-hand panel, as I'm calling it. There are several ways that you can actually place items. If you're on a desktop machine, there are shortcuts, but I'll get to those in a moment. When I first did the builder, it was very much I want this square to be a goblin, I want this square to be a skull or skeleton. And yeah, it was very much a kind of click back and forth. I had a lot of requests for drag and drop, which, if I'm honest, is quite hard to implement, especially as this is also trying to be touch friendly and also work universally on lots of different devices. I did try it and it just didn't work because of the way the snapping and everything kept on kind of monkeying around with how people were interfacing with things. If you want to rotate an item, you click on it more than once and it will basically rotate in the 4 different orientations around the square that you've selected. I have seen people having difficulties with that, so I just wanted to make sure that that was really clear. So yeah, I'm just clicking that repeatedly and it will just rotate the item. If the item occupies more than one square, it kind of rotates hopefully around a relatively natural place that would make sense. So normally the middle of it, and if it doesn't have a middle, it's normally the lower right. I know it's a little obtrusive in some of the places, especially when we get to the expansion icons, but hopefully you'll get used to that fairly quickly. There's also a thing in here where it will show you if you've reached the limit of certain items. So let's go with our skeleton friends here. So if we keep clicking on skeletons, I believe there was 4 in the base set. Yes, there are. So that will now fade out. It doesn't stop you populating with even more skeletons. You can have hundreds of them if you really wish. But it's trying to give you a visual cue here so that if you have the base set, and I based it on the original base set of the EU HeroQuest because it's the one that actually has fewer walls and things like that, but characters and everything is always consistent. So at the end of the day, it's trying to give you a bit of a cue if you've used too many doors, for example, or if you've used too many secret doors, um, and making it so your quest is hopefully valid when you actually try and run it. Otherwise, you might end up using too many objects. It's a subtle cue, but all of these will fade out. Well, all the base sets will fade out once they've been used. The expansions, it doesn't do that, to be fair, because a lot of those are single pieces. Once you've used them, it's pretty obvious, hopefully, that you shouldn't have to reuse them. Excuse me. So let me have a quick look. Deleting items, you can highlight them and then you can click on the delete down here. And also, if you go down to the expansions, which I'll get to a bit more in detail a bit later, when you open the expansion, you might notice that you've got these little plus icons on here. What it's showing you is you've now got additional items because that expansion pack comes with additional objects. So now I've got another 4 skeletons. He's no longer faded out because I can actually keep populating. And then eventually he will fade out because we have used 8. Not 8. We've used 8 plus 4. Yeah, I might have to revisit that, to be fair, but I didn't want to clutter this with loads of numbers, to be honest. I wanted it to be quite subtle. So this is basically the base set number of skeletons plus the additional ones that you get with the set. But it will fade out at the correct time if you have your expansion open down here, basically. Homebrew icons are also featured down here. So if we go down here, we've got both of the expansion packs. Sorry, I'm referencing notes, which I thought was going to help me a little bit more with this video, but it's probably making me feel a little bit more unnatural to how I normally would do them, but I didn't want to miss anything. So please bear with me if I suddenly kind of go back and then bounce back the other way. So yes, here are your expansions, basically. I wanted to make hQuestBuilder so it's as compatible across as many versions of HeroQuest as possible. So I don't make the assumption that people have the expansions. So if you keep these closed, you don't even have to go into them if you don't wish. But it does have all of the objects for you to kind of populate your quests if you wish to, if you've got those expansion icons. Homebrew is a way of adding your own icons to hQuestBuilder. They are only single tiles at the moment. There have been quite a few requests to make more complex tiles, which I'm looking into. Also, the ability to rotate them. When I first had the requests for Homebrew, it very much was centered around creatures and traps, which are pretty much single tile. You can create multiple tile Homebrew icons if you wish, and then kind of put them all next to each other. That's another way of doing it if you want to. I've seen people do that, and it works quite effectively. But you have quite a big palette of Homebrew anyway. But if you click to open it, it will ask you for a URL to an image. Now, people have asked me why I haven't had it so you could just upload your image directly into hQuestBuilder. I would love to do that. The only thing is I would also have to handle the storage of those images. I'd have to handle the compression of them if they weren't particularly well compressed. And Imager does all of that stuff for me. So Imager is a completely free site. You can sign up for a free account. You can drag in your images on there. And then if you want to have one of these images, you can say, right, I want to have this skull kind of little tile that I've put up. And then all you need to do is copy this thing on the right-hand side here called the direct link. So if I copy that, and then I go back to my homebrew thing here, and then paste that URL in, he'll then appear in the palette. Same if I want to add a different colored skull. So if I want this yellowy one over here, and copy that, and do this, and paste that in, I've now got another one. So basically, the only reason I'm using Imager is because it takes away that pain. And it also means that as Imager is public, you can also share your homebrew icons with others rather than it all being baked into hQuestBuilder and not accessible. So there was method in my madness, and hopefully it also means that if people do some quite creative single tiles or creatures and everything, they can just share that with the community rather than people having to replicate that. But if you want to place these, it works in exactly the same way. So you can just say, I want all these different colored icons here. I use them for annotations a lot of the time, but I've seen people do some great stuff with the homebrew stuff. And again, that's persistent. So if I reload this and open it up again and go back down to my homebrew, it will remember all of that stuff. If you want to delete one, technically you can place them and then actually remove them when you don't need them, but they will stay on the map. So removing it from here does not remove it from the map. But if you hold down or long press on a touch device, you can then delete that homebrew icon. But yeah, so that's homebrew. So keyboard shortcuts is the next thing I'm going to cover. So this was quite a big update that I added in. In fact, you're probably seeing the tooltips appear as I'm hovering over some of these items. This obviously won't be relevant for touchscreen users, but for most keyboard users, this hopefully will improve the speed at which you can start populating the map. So you can see my mouse is moving around here. I'm going to take my mouse away now, and I'm going to use just the cursor keys on my keyboard. And that will now move the blue block or the kind of population highlight around the map. And if I start using the shortcut keys, which are relevant, kind of referenced here, so all the creatures are just the number keys all the way up to 8. I am looking for a little character to add in here, which I've been talking to people about, which would complete the view, but watch this space for that. And all of these have their own, so that's dash, that's D, that's Alt plus D. So if I'll just move my mouse away again. If I'm moving my cursor keys around, I'm pressing 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can see it's very, very quick. And I can also use the backspace key or delete key, and that will delete items as well. And it's super fast. I mean, I have to confess, when I've been using my laptop to build quests, I don't tend to use the click and select method very much at all now. I just move things around. And doors and everything work in the same way. So if I use D and keep pressing D, it will rotate it around. So again, I can move very fast through here and kind of populate my quest very, very quickly. Annotations, I always get this wrong. I think it's Shift. Yes, it is. If I hold down Shift and then press the letter key that I want, it will then put that onto the map. The other thing is populating rock is an awful lot quicker when you're using keyboard shortcuts. I do have people saying, the click and select thing does take quite some time. If you press the spacebar key, that will toggle you into rock paint mode. That at the moment is down here in the annotation section. So if you click that, it will do the same. And the way this works when you're just selecting and clicking is you have to kind of click around and then you need to turn it off. If you're on keyboard shortcuts, you can do this very simply by pressing, I'm on the wrong page, by pressing spacebar and then holding Shift and then moving the cursor keys around. And if you let go of Shift, it will then stop painting. And it makes things an awful lot quicker if you want to do that as well, because I have seen people still doing the long form way of populating this. And hopefully that makes it an awful lot faster for you to populate the rock on the map. I think that's the main stuff with this side panel. The one thing which I haven't mentioned is at the top here, you have the ability to switch between the 3 different themes. So if you want yours to look like the old style US theme, you can just press this little guy over here. And in the middle, that's the EU style. And then this is the kind of new HeroQuest 2021 style. So you can do that at any time, and this will just switch the graphics appropriately. And as and when I get the expansions for the new style, they'll appear in here as well. People have been asking why not all the expansions are here. It's because I don't have the graphics for the latest versions of things like the Frozen Horror, for example. Once that's released and I have the graphics, I can add them into hQuestBuilder, basically. But you will find Keller's Keep and Return of the Witch Lord, because obviously both of those have been released publicly, and we have the high resolution assets for those. Also, if you're working late at night and the screen is a bit kind of glary, you can switch it into dark mode. It just fades everything down and makes it hopefully so the screen isn't kind of very, very bright. Again, I've used that as I toil into the night making my own quests. I think that's everything on this side panel here. There's 3 icons up here. One just basically closes this if you just want to have a look at your map without the thing on the side. This goes back to the help and info panel. And this little cog here takes us to our next step, which is the right-hand panel. So when you first load up HeroQuest Builder, it will have a quest automatically populated for you. There always has to be one quest in hQuestBuilder, basically just because of technical things that I decided not to try and make it complicated so it can have nothing. But on here, this is where you populate all your narrative information for your quest. So you give yourself a quest title, you put in the author credit on here, then you can put in your narrative in here, and then you can put in your notes as well, and your wandering monster. And if you want to see how this will print out, you can select the print preview button, and that will basically format it and show you kind of, it follows a fairly standard layout that's in the quest book. It's not exactly the same, and it doesn't change with the different aesthetics. I just wanted to try and make a digital version of that that would be relatively flexible. Um, you can also print, which again, people do seem to ask me an awful lot about, but hopefully it was fairly evident from the icons, but obviously not. But you can print the web page directly and it will print in the same format. It's clever enough to know that it's not the screen, and it will kind of put the credits and everything at the bottom. It will put the Wandering Monster. It will put all your quest notes and your kind of narrative notes on here, and obviously your map at the top. If you're using Chrome, and I believe other browsers do this suit as well, you can print out directly to a printer, of course. Some people have said that it's a little bit too small for them. You can change the scale here, and you can fiddle around with all kinds of other things as far as orientation and everything are concerned. But also, you can do something which is called save as PDF, and it will print it out or print it digitally to a PDF document. I will say, and you can probably see this in the shot that I'm showing you at the moment, the lines seem to go a little bit strange when you start doing printing. It's probably because there's an awful lot of stuff going on the map. It will always be fine on the screen, but when you print to a PDF, it will probably look a little bit strange at different zoom levels. If you print from a PDF, I've actually found the results are pretty good. And I've done that numerous times, and I haven't seen the artifacts represented when I print from a PDF. But again, I think it depends on your operating system and everything, sadly. I am still looking into that, but it might just be one of those things which is something that will never get corrected, or it will take a while for me to figure out a solution so it is always consistent. There is a backup though. If you do the uh, print preview, you can then use a screenshot program. I use Awesome Screenshot. Um, and then you can basically select full page and it will actually capture the full page as an image for you. So this is what I think a lot of people use when they're posting on things like the subreddit. And it will create a nice high resolution image of the whole of the page. And then you can even crop that within this view as well, which is handy. So yeah, hopefully those are all the different tips that you would need in order to extract a nice image and all the quest notes and everything for your individual quests. Speaking of quests, let's go to the quest list. So this view shows you basically all the quests that you have. You can have a lot of quests on hQuestBuilder. You just basically add a plus, use the plus icon up here, and it'll give you a fresh new quest. And then you can move between your quests just by selecting these items, and it will load in the quest data for the one that you've selected, basically. Um, and basically, yeah, you just use this to kind of then move between and then start populating your new quest here. It will say the title here. You can change the aesthetics to different ones at this point, and it will remember that as you move between the two. All of that stuff is saved directly. You can also sort your quests in this view. So if you click this, if you realize that you've actually got a nice sequence of quests going, you can now use this to kind of sort which order you want them in, and it will remember all of that, which is quite useful. You can also search quests. So if you've got an awful lot of quests here, this is a particularly good example, but if I do that, it will then find the quest I'm looking for in here, just in case your quest list gets quite long. Um, there's also a little bit of a hidden feature. This is relatively new, and I have to confess I did this more because there was some mention on one of the Discord channels I was on about a certain use case when people were saying, actually, it'd be really nice to be able to clone some of the quests that I work on. This is a little bit hidden away at the moment, and I'm trying to figure out mechanics so that people might find this a bit more obviously. This will be a bit of a test to see if you've been paying attention in the video, to be fair. But if you hold down, a bit like the long press that we use for the homebrew icon deletion, it will ask if you want to create a clone of that quest. And if you say yes, you have a copy of. So that basically is now a copy, an exact copy of that quest. And then you can rename it and you can adjust it, and the original one stays completely intact. I would probably change the name or do something with it quite quickly so you don't get confused between the two, but that feature is very much there. As far as where the data is stored for hQuestBuilder, it's stored in your browser. I'm not really sure how clearly to explain this to people because I think some people get a bit confused by it, but your browser has a kind of storage area within it that enables you to store quite a bit of information per website. And you can store an awful lot of quests. However, the more you obviously put in, an effort you put in, I would hate for you to lose your quests. That's the last thing I would want. The whole point of hQuestBuilder is to make it so that you can focus on the creative kind of experience of creating a quest rather than worrying about the technical kind of difficulties of putting icons and things on the map. So what I've done is made it so that you can actually manually back up your quests. So if you press this, it will say download or back up your quest list, and this will back up everything that's in your quest list. So if I say OK, it will then download basically a .hqb file, which is an Hero Quest Builder kind of quest file. That basically means I can then go in here and delete the quests that are in here if I wish. Let's create a fresh new one, get rid of that. And then if I decide to upload and I select that hQuestBuilder file that I've just downloaded, it will give me a prompt, and also it will replace everything in your existing quest list. So an hQuestBuilder file is basically a save of a quest list. So if you've got a campaign, it's quite a nice way of keeping your campaigns in separate files if you wish. But if you say OK, it will reload the map. You then go here, and everything's back to how I had it. I would recommend you do that relatively periodically, if I'm honest. It's one of those things where the web can be quite a weird thing, and sometimes your local storage might get deleted for all kinds of random reasons. There might be a security package that you've got running on your computer that thinks local storage has got something horrible in it. Um, and yeah, it takes 2 seconds to click that button, and you will have a backup file. Technically, you can also send that to people if you wish. You can share quests that way if you really want to. But yeah, it's a way that hopefully reassures you that there is a way of getting your quest data out of the browser rather than just relying on this super secret kind of local storage space. Um, there is also, moving on from that, a way of actually saving to the cloud. This is still something I've got in beta, if I'm honest, but it does enable you to save your quests in a space that isn't machine-based. And it is useful. So if you're moving between different devices, you can then share your quest data and move them between them without having to use the files. Um, I'm still testing this at the moment. There is a call to action to potentially sign up to it if you go to this tab on the live version of the site and you're not linked in already. But I can show you very quickly how it works. So the Lost Prince is a quest that I've got publicly shared at the moment. I can make that unpublicly shared by just clicking this icon here, and it will remove the link so people can't get to it. It's probably confusing because I haven't really shown you what that does. But let's just pull the Lost Prince down to my local quest file. So if I do this, I've now got the Lost Prince here, and I can see all the details behind that quest, and I can edit all the text and everything like that. I can then choose to push it back up to my cloud storage space. And the beauty of this as well is if I click on the Lost Prince, that's actually a public URL I can send to people if I wish to actually share this whole quest that I've put together with the community if I wish. They can also print that off. They can do screenshots of that if they wish to, and all the other kind of features which come from just a passive view. They can't edit it or anything like that. It's a fixed view. And the beauty is as well is when you're editing it, you can also choose to push changes, so that link will dynamically update once you've pushed those changes to it, which hopefully is useful for people. I think that's it. Because I had a list, I kind of spoke an awful lot there, but I've tried to cover every single feature that I can think of. There's always new things being added to hQuestBuilder, and I'm always happy to receive feedback as well. Do use the little friendly fella down here, or do use, I think there's a link here, so get in touch is there. And contact me directly. There's just a Google form there if you want to get in touch there. Or look out for me as well. I'm on the HeroQuest subreddit. I'm also on the HeroQuest Discord. I'm also on the HeroQuest fans Discord. So yeah, I'm always happy to receive feedback. And I can't thank the community enough for being so supportive and so receptive to hQuestBuilder. It's been a bit of a dream project to work on so far, and something which I'm very, very proud to kind of give back to the community as something which enables people to be so creative with this wonderful game. But yeah, do obviously keep in touch. Let me know how you're getting on, and happy quest building, everyone. Take care. Bye.